What's going on, motorsports fans? This is Jared here with the Bearded Garagistas. Always with me is my brother Brett.
How you doing?
And today we're going to change it up a little bit. We've foregone the actual videoing of us. We will have stuff up on YouTube, as you can probably see if you're watching this on YouTube. And we're going to change it up a little bit, just make it a little easier on us going into 2021. And then we'll be back with videos eventually. I promise about that. So keep subscribing on YouTube. Follow on whatever podcasting audio site that you like to use.
5-star ratings.
5-star ratings on everything. Comment. Let us hear what you guys are saying, what you like about the show. The more comments shows interaction. Maybe more people will join on and discuss with us. Follow us on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. Let us know you're out there. We enjoy hearing feedback from what you guys like about the show, what you guys dislike about the show, what we can make better for you guys. So with that being said, we're going to get into a 2020 takeaway from what we learned, loved, disliked from 2020. We're actually going to go over what we believe to be our top 10s list and probably going to shake up the world with a little bit of that. And then we're going to go into 2021 predictions in this show.
Don't hold us to that, by the way. That's just being fun.
A prediction's a prediction. That's the point of it.
It's fun.
It's fun.
The best part is going back a year later and being like, oh, so wrong.
Well, Brett made the... We'll get into some stuff. Do you want to start off with your top 10? Actually, you know what? What was the top 10s list that we were looking at before? We were seeing the... that's the Goodwood one. Let's not.
So there's been a few. So F1 put out the Boss's top 10.
All right. So the Boss's top 10 was Lewis Hamilton, Max Verstappen, Charles Leclerc, Daniel Ricciardo, Sergio Perez, George Russell, Lando Norris, Carlos Sainz, Valtteri Bottas, Pierre Gasly. What do you think about that?
Yeah, so first off, how it's scored is they basically, each boss ranks them, and then those ranks get the same amount of points that they would have gotten in like a race. So like first place gets 25 points, and then they add them all up, and then that's how it gets determined of who's where. It doesn't surprise me. It's interesting to see how high the bosses rank Norris and Russell. But other than that, it doesn't surprise me. I think it's a pretty good list.
Really? I mean, I think with what we're about to go over, it'll definitely show that, we agree with some of it, we don't agree with all of it, and we'll see how we go from there.
Pull up the driver's one.
What was the driver's one? Let's see. You remember where it was? Did you have it on your phone?
Yeah.
We also had a couple of our...
So you were knocking me for having my phone out.
I did knock you for having your phone out, and now I'm eating my words. We did have a couple of our fans actually put in their top 10s, and one of them was... the most interesting one that I saw was Hamilton, Verstappen, Leclerc, Ricciardo, Norris, Bottas, Gasly, Russell, Albon, and Stroll.
Wow. That's a very interesting list.
Now, this was earlier in the year. This was there's still probably like 6 or 7 races to go, but completely left off Perez.
Oh, well, if there's 6 to 7, that makes a lot of sense of why Stroll was up there, because you get to the end of the season and all right, so
yeah, he was still up there at that time, I guess. I mean, personally,
halfway through the season, he was like 3rd in the championship.
He was never up there for me, even being 3rd in the championship. So, that was a shit show.
This is the top 10 ranked by the drivers themselves. Hamilton 1, Verstappen, Ricciardo 3, Leclerc, Gasly up all the way up in 5th, Russell 6, Perez 7, Grosjean 8, Sainz 9, and Albon 10. That's from the drivers. That's surprising.
Listen,
that is a surprising list.
When we talk top 10, we're talking about the driver's skill, removing the car, removing everything that happened, what the driver showed us in situations, or this is how I ranked mine, in situations where the driver needed to be the key factor of why the car moved forward, moved back, stayed in the race, those split-second decisions. That's how I ranked my top 10. Is that how you did yours?
More or less. It was overarching just driver ability.
So who goes first? You want to express yours first? Because you kind of stayed with the norm of what the rest of the world did, especially with your number one.
Well, you're stupid. Hamilton's won. I think
I'm not
almost
stupid.
everybody in the whole world.
I'm not stupid yet.
Just joking. Almost everybody in the whole world has Hamilton as one. I guess we just gave a little teaser, I guess, as to what Jared's is. Hamilton's 1, Verstappen 2, Ricciardo 3, Perez 4, Leclerc 5, Sainz, Gasly, Norris, Russell, and finishing it up as Bottas.
I feel like you went with the norm. This is how everybody else kind of saw the same thing. And maybe I saw it differently. Well, I definitely saw it differently.
Yes, you did.
I listed it as, and I'm going to tell you my list, and then I'll defend it because I assume
I want you to go
over me.
I want you to go 10-1.
10-1. Ooh, all right, 10-1. Raikkonen, Russell. So 10 was Raikkonen, 9 was Russell, 8 Sainz, 7 Norris, 6 Ricciardo, 5 Gasly, 4 Perez, 3 Hamilton, 2 Leclerc, 1 Verstappen.
Oh my goodness.
Now, everyone knows I'm not the biggest Verstappen fan. However, in 2020, I believe that he showed to be the reason why that Red Bull is where it is,
Agreed.
where it was. I feel like he pushed the Mercedes cars, even though we definitely didn't have the car to probably do it.
Agreed.
I believe in most situations, he had a cool head. He had a bunch of DNFs and still came in third. He still pressed everyone in front of him. He still made everyone behind him chase. And I believe that without the DNFs and without the poor car, I think Verstappen is vying for a title. I
agree with every bit of that.
Perfect. And that's why I put him number 1. I put Leclerc at number 2, and the reason why is everyone knows he drove a literal cinder block this year. A 4-time world champion in Vettel, his teammate, was nowhere close.
Nowhere. Where are you going?
Nowhere close
Nowhere.
to what he was. There were times where I would blink and I would see Leclerc in 4th, 5th, sometimes 7th. And in my opinion, I don't think he should have been in the top 10. I think he's the reason why they scored most of their points. That's a definite. And I feel like the skill he showed in a car that was so poor warranted him the number 2 spot. And I feel like when he gets into a more competitive car, once they give him one or once he changes teams and gets one, I feel like Leclerc is a future champion, and Vettel said it himself. What?
Did you hear what you just said?
What?
Where he changes team and gets a competitive car. Like,
saying.
My goodness, bro.
Well, Ferrari can't stop shooting themselves in the foot. They got a lot of big changes going on at Ferrari. Yeah, they say they got a new engine coming. Well, that remains to be seen. And you know, it's just a shitty situation. But even Vettel said himself that Leclerc is one of the most talented drivers that he's ever seen behind the wheel of a Formula One car. And he told him not to don't get discouraged, keep pushing, blah, blah, blah. Hamilton, I put at number 3 is because he's Hamilton. Yes, he's a great driver. I respect it. I understand it. I know it. But my problem is, he didn't show me enough. Now, whether he is or he isn't, he could be. He could be the best out there. He might be. But my problem is the car was so good that I don't think, other than, what was that one race? The blown out tires and everybody's talking about it.
Silverstone and Turkey.
Other than those 2 races, did he have his ability? Did he have the ability to show how good he is? How good he was this year?
You have to look at what Hamilton did and then what his teammate did, right? Because no other car on the grid can compare to the Merc. What he showed was, I will always be there in quali and will typically top my teammate in quali even after not doing so well in free practice. And no matter what a year like 2020 can throw at me, I will be at the top at the end of each race, right? Like, what I'm trying to say is there's COVID, there's races back to back to back to back to back. There's controversy here, controversy there. Shutting out. Now, Hamilton's the type of person that goes around the world and meets with this people and meets with those people and parties here and does his thing there. And in 2020, he had to be an isolated, secluded driver. For him to still stay in the mindset that he needed to be in to be competitive, because typically Hamilton thrives when he's constantly busy, and busy particularly with other things. He was able to stay focused and stay competitive and basically kick the absolute shit out of Bottas.
I think there's two things though. One is the car was so good that he didn't have the ability to show how good he was. And two, Russell embarrassed Bottas just as much as Hamilton embarrasses Bottas. So,
but all right,
you see, and I know it was one race, and it's not over the length of the season. I get all that garbage, but I just feel the car was so good that I don't think I was able to realistically judge how good Hamilton was this year. I'm not saying he's not a world-class driver. I'm not saying he's one of the greatest. I mean, I'm not saying any of that. I'm just saying that his car was so good, I was not able to see how good he actually is. He didn't shine to me.
In the end, this is opinion based. There is no one in the world that is going to say like Verstappen, Hamilton, Verstappen for sure are the top two drivers. What order you put those in is personal preference, whether you think they showed that talent.
Yeah, I put
but
them
they're
at
up
3.
there. That's because you're crazy. I mean,
I think Leclerc was really good. I think you throw Leclerc in a more competitive car, and I think he gives both Verstappen and Hamilton a run for their money.
What sucks is in my list, and I hope you put these up side by side at least or something.
Yeah,
in some way, because I have Leclerc all the way down in 5th, but that probably is skewed a little bit because of the Ferrari car. But I just felt like I couldn't ignore Ricciardo's 2 podiums, Perez's end of the season. I mean, what Perez could have done if he didn't miss 2 races from COVID.
Yeah.
Let's keep that in mind. And Racing Point lost, not him, but Racing Point, the team, lost 15 points because of the pink Mercedes brake duct ordeal. I just couldn't ignore them, and Leclerc ended up getting lower down. I hear your point. I mean, some of these drivers are just so damn good.
I mean, I put Perez at number 4.
It's hard to rank it.
I put Perez at number 4 because I think he quietly crept to number 4. He wasn't number 4 in the middle of the season. I think he was definitely number 4 after his win and after the end of the season. But I feel like he drove a hell of a season. He consistently goes from the back to the front. He's a hell of a driver, and I think he deserves every bit of that Red Bull spot. I picked Gasly at number 5 because he's still shocking the world. He should have had more time at Red Bull. They should have tried to help him with that car. He deserves a top drive. I think he's a hell of a driver. He just does better when there's no pressure on him. I'll say that. But I think he drove a hell of a year. Ricciardo,
that's not true.
Pushing a Renault to the front, pushing it onto the podium. I think Norris did well. My Norris and Sainz, and I put them so close together because it was really a toss-up, honestly. Those 2 drivers are so close, in my opinion. Norris shows up when he needs to show up. I just wish we would see a little more consistency through the race. And I feel like Sainz shows a lot of consistency, but doesn't show up to the ball every once in a while.
He has such... I mean, they basically had reverse seasons, Norris and Sainz. I mean, Norris was on point getting, bringing it home for McLaren for the McLaren... Wow, for McLaren the first half of this season, and Sainz had like the worst luck ever, and then it switched, and Sainz was bringing home the bacon at the end of the season. They are great. They are extremely close. They had very close. I think like between where they were in races against each other and where they were in quali against each other, it was basically like 9-8. But then when you look at the points, when Sainz brought home points, he consistently brought home more points than Norris did. But keep in mind, Norris is only second season in F1. Sainz has been around for a while. If Norris is this competitive with a driver that everybody touts as having talent,
Ferrari
right?
picked him.
So you've got to say Norris has a bright future.
Yeah. And then Russell.
Both have Russell at 9.
Yeah, if Russell doesn't make your top 10, I don't know what the hell's wrong with you. Yes, he's in a Williams, but he spanks his teammate consistently and not by a little bit. He's wrestling that Williams car. He showed his skill when he was in the Mercedes. I just think he's gonna be unreal.
I'd have him even higher if he didn't drop it himself behind the safety car and end up in the wall and gotten points with the Williams as well.
Yeah, if he gotten points with the Williams, he'd be up higher. And then I put Raikkonen up there because if you want to try, and I left Bottas off the list because I feel like 2020 was not a year for Bottas. I feel like the car pretty much did the driving, and I think he just kind of was a passenger, in a car like that. He didn't show the consistency he needed to show. I don't think he really accomplished any of the goals that he set for himself. I did put Raikkonen at number 10, and the reason why is the man, he's like Maverick, bro. He's still dangerous. Opening laps, other than I think Antonio Giovinazzi picked up the most positions on opening laps, but Raikkonen in the opening laps, when everybody's battling for positions, you could see the skill of his driving.
Yep.
And he pushes that car to places where it shouldn't be. And I feel like Raikkonen, he's still dangerous. So moving on from those top 10s, I know we really beat that into the ground, but I mean that's I know mine was a little controversial, and I stand by it. Come at me, bro. 2020 takeaway. Let's go with things that we loved.
So new tracks, new/old tracks, but just different for F1 was amazing.
The outside, everyone called it an oval. That's not an oval.
Right.
That was pretty nice.
Awesome. Basically, Herman Tilke needs to take some notes and stop thinking that only one style of track will work with F1. Because, and please do something about Abu Dhabi.
Don't get me wrong, it turned into a little bit of a DRS train, but yeah, Abu Dhabi's horrible. Abu Dhabi's horrible. I think it's a great place to go.
Right.
I think they support the racing. I think it's a great finish to the season.
It's the most expensive venue ever built for F1. It was built to highlight the W Hotel instead of making a good racetrack.
Yeah, I think they need to do a little bit better with that track. They redesigned a couple of things in that track, even a couple of corners. I do like the high difficulty corners, but yeah. The fact that they tucked in 17 races in a tough season,
incredible.
Sometimes doing 3 races, back to back to back. The logistics layout that they did with DHL, nothing short of amazing.
Yeah.
I feel like that was very impressive. And if they could do that, that shows that a 23 race season is not out of the cards. Everyone complained, and to me, everyone complained that 23 races was too much. It's a lot, blah, 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 this, that, and a third. But you know what? They packed 17 races into a short schedule. And yeah, I know it was exhausting, but they did it. And I feel like, 23 races in a much longer span, a lot easier. And imagine the money that's going to come in with, fans and these new locations, these new venues, possible new sponsors, things like that. That's a big deal.
Mm-hmm.
We also like the competitive midfield.
Loved it.
You think about where they were, as in the midfield. Hold on, let me. No, I don't know what it is. The drivers, the what was the midfield?
Basically everybody except for Merc and Red Bull. So I would say in here, thank you, Ferrari, for screwing up your engine, because you made the midfield battle so interesting. And this will get to our next point later, that Ferrari helped with this. But, Renault, McLaren, Racing Point, AlphaTauri towards the end of the year, that was such a strong and competitive battle. Because it would have been great with just Racing Point, McLaren, and Renault in there. But AlphaTauri developed and got so strong by the end of the year that they were making it a huge question mark of where those other 3 teams would finish. and what points they would get.
Right, because you go ahead.
I'm just saying it was great. I loved it.
If you look at it this way, put it into perspective. Mercedes had 573 points. Red Bull had 319. Right. The next one on that list is McLaren at 202. Now here's where the fun starts. You got McLaren at 202, Racing Point at 195, Renault at 181. Those three teams right there, right on each other all day long. But it wasn't just the points that showed, right? Because you had Ferrari right behind Renault at 131 and then AlphaTauri at 107. And yes, they're a little farther back. However, they were competitive in the racing. If you looked at the racing on the track, they were always right around each other.
Yep.
And then being in that close vicinity made the racing a lot more exciting. So that's what we mean by competitive midfield. The shuffled podiums.
Again, thank you, Ferrari.
Thank you, Ferrari. Thank you. I mean, yes, COVID in a weird way. Yeah, it's hard to thank COVID. It's horrible times, horrible things. But the chaos that COVID caused, I think Formula One benefited in a weird way. And it's horrible to say that, but it shook things up. And I wish it wasn't COVID that did it. I wish it was FIA, Formula One, the teams. I don't care what did it, but the shakeup of the norm is what caused us to get, 10 different podium combinations or people. I don't know. It was nuts. There were, we had new winners. We had different people on the podium. We had first time podiums. It was awesome. We were able to see Hulkenberg come back. We were able to see, a Russell and a Mercedes. Jesus Christ. At the beginning, at the end of 2019, if I told you George Russell would have his sweet cheeks in a Mercedes, what would you have said? You'd have fucking laughed at me.
Yeah. And I never thought that Jack Aiken would have ever made it to Formula One. I wish he could have. I wish he would have.
Oh my God. We didn't even talk about Grosjean's crash. Bro, thank God he's alive. I mean, one of the most...
That's a big love from 2020 is the safety measures that Formula One and the FIA have put into place.
Amazing.
We love that. Because
and he's doing better.
Incredible.
Unreal. I mean, thank God he's well. But that was... And I understand that they were like, oh, we shouldn't have replayed it over and over. Ricardo was big on saying that we shouldn't replay it over and over. But to me, I thought it was exciting. He was fine.
You don't have to get back into a car and go. They do. That was his point. His point was replay it at home. Yeah, not at the track.
Oh, they played it at the track that many times
over and over again. Yeah.
All right, that's a little ridiculous. Nobody even at the track.
Right. That was his point.
Now I stand by him. All right, that makes a little more sense.
Because now ridiculous. You basically have first responders, right? Because that's all that was there was first responders in the crowd, and then the 19 drivers at that point that are just watching this replay of this horrendous crash, the worst crash in decades, and then have to put on their helmet and go race.
I don't know. I don't know if it would have affected me as much. I'm a little ballsy. I'm a little I'm crazy, but yeah. But I get why that would be a little discerning for them and their families.
All right, what we learned from 2020.
Racing is not everything.
It's almost everything.
Yeah, it's almost everything. Racing is almost everything, but it isn't everything. And that this sport and other sports will help you through the tough times.
Yep.
With COVID, we understand that, people suffered, their, lives were shaken up. They lost loved ones, things like that. Those are horrible things. And, racing isn't everything. The Unity program, everybody pushing forward together and fighting against injustices. Those things show that racing is not always everything. Now, again, like Brett said, it helps us through those tough times. It gives you that time away from everyday life, from all the stress you feel, to sit down on a Sunday and stress about Ferrari doing horribly.
It's a distraction, and much needed distraction. Now, as much as, and I even found it difficult with just life that there were so many three-peats. But at the same point, those three-peat events allowed me to put life aside for 2 hours and just enjoy. Now I say 2 hours, but I'm that guy that watches all the practices and all the quality.
Yeah, you
so
watch
it's much
everything.
more than 2 hours, but still it's a much needed distraction.
I would watch all of that if I could remember all that, but I got a horrible memory. But you're like an elephant.
Thanks.
Yeah, elephants never forget. Brett never forgets. We also came up with that even though the Mercs are dominant, the entertainment doesn't always come from the front. And I feel especially that the sponsors and TV coverage can learn from that. There were times where I feel like I was watching, the number one cars in the past, or even in the beginning of the season, the first, second, third cars running around the track all by themselves, and there was a battle going on in the midfield. And it happened a little bit at the end of the season too, but I feel like Sky Sports and all that, they started to realize, like, hey, listen, we don't have to play Lewis Hamilton running around the track all by himself and just continue talking about the same old garbage when we got a pretty good battle in the midfield. So, we started seeing a lot more midfield battles, things like that, and I really enjoyed that. So even though that, Mercedes were dominant again, and Red Bull was in their expected spot, that good midfield racing still shows us that, racing is enjoyable to watch. You don't have to have new winners all the time to still have fun racing.
And Formula One using the tower on the left to show other views, in essence, a split screen or whatever. It's still, they could focus on who they felt they had to focus on, but highlight a competitive race or overtake on the side of the screen, and you could watch it if you wanted to. That it was beautiful. I wish it was a little bit bigger, but it was great that they incorporated it somehow, and it wasn't just staring at the Mercs going round and round and round.
You need to buy a bigger TV.
You can buy me one.
If anybody wants to donate an 80-inch so we can watch the split screen a little bit easier, you're more than welcome.
We will take it.
Dislikes. Again, one team dominance.
Just to run it real quick, because I don't know if you have this off the top of your head, but there were 17 races, okay? The Mercs took pole 15 times. Merc engines took pole 16 times.
Yep.
Okay? That's ridiculous.
That's dominance.
Mercs winning. Now, the Mercedes team winning, that was 13 of the 17. Verstappen got 2.
Verstappen won 2 races?
Yeah.
Thought he only won 1.
No, he won Silverstone. He won the 70th anniversary Grand Prix, the second Silverstone, and he won Abu Dhabi. Gasly won 1, so that's 3 wins for Honda. And then Perez won. All right, so the Mercedes team gets 13 out of 17. That's ridiculously strong dominance. Mercedes power units get 14 out of the 17, and Honda picks up the other 3. That's one-sided dominance that makes races a snore fest.
Yes. Yeah. But again, good midfield battles help it out. But still, always like to see multiple teams up at the top. So I'm hoping that even though the Mercedes power engine, with 3 power units out there, with Ferrari, Renault, and Mercedes now, because Honda's leaving, we understand that there's going to be some kind of dominance in the engine factor. But as far as the teams, I would like to shake it up a little bit. To that effect, Carlos Sainz came out, and he said that he would like to see, in cars coming down the road, 2022 cars especially, he wants to see the car have less of an effect and the driver have more of an effect.
Mm-hmm.
So they can see the skill of a driver show more than the engineering of the car. And I agree with that. Don't get me wrong, engineering in Formula One is great, but, Adrian Newey's a great dude, but I don't watch Formula One. I don't watch racing to see an engineering battle. I watch racing to see the drivers go at it, and bringing them closer together. That's what makes IndyCar so awesome. That's what makes endurance racing so great. IndyCars are very close together, regardless. Endurance racing with the balance of power, you just can see racecraft.
Yeah, that's controversial though, because there's some diehard Formula One fans who are not there just for the entertainment, but there because to them Formula One means innovation, and Formula One should always be top-notch innovation. Stop with all these regulations that are restricting them and just let them innovate. So the downside of that is that makes crappy racing. Because what you find is 1, 2, maybe 3 teams, if you're lucky, end up so overwhelmingly dominant, primarily because of money, and they just have the resource to innovate. So it is a double-edged sword, but yeah, let's 2022. Let's hope.
I think we could bring it back a little bit.
For sure.
I don't think we should bring it back a lot, but there are a lot of innovative things, inventions that have come from Formula One that we use in everyday life nowadays. So, but there has to be some kind of competitive edge, or people are going to stop watching it.
The other thing that we didn't love or we disliked about 2020, and this might just be because of where we live, but they gave up on coming east.
You sons of bitches. What did we ever do?
No. They gave up on going east and west, to be honest. Yes. I'll give you that, okay? Yeah. Because we barely went to Asia.
I mistyped it on the notes, sorry.
Yeah. So
they gave up on coming west. They didn't go east either.
They didn't go east either, all right? So in Jared's defense. But what we were going for here was
whoopsies.
They didn't go to the other hemisphere, all right?
Thank God you caught it. That would have been another Jared mistake. It happens. I got a lot of stuff going on.
So, whether it was going to Brazil, whether it was going to Canada, Mexico, America, somewhere like
Vietnam.
Asia. So what happened was a championship by FIA standards, a world championship has to go to at least 3 different continents. 2020 got a pass on that because of COVID. So it needed more than 8 races and 3 different continents. That, by the regulations, makes it a world championship. 2020 FIA said, don't worry about the content. Even if they only stayed in Europe the whole time, they still would have considered it a full-blown season. However, because of the money in the Middle East, they for sure went to Bahrain and Abu Dhabi. They made it happen, right? Yas Marina was locked down so tight that the only way you could get there was if you were at Bahrain the week before.
It's like a dolphin's butt.
Okay.
Watertight.
If you were at Bahrain the week before, if you passed like 3 or 4 COVID tests, if you were there only as a racer or a media, like it was so heavily restricted, it was ridiculous. And then once you were there on the island, there were only certain parts of the island that you could go to, right? I don't understand how that couldn't have been enacted somewhere else. Like Texas is freaking huge, all right? If they would have gone to COTA, they could have locked COTA down in a similar way because it's so vast and empty out there. I'm just saying.
I wish you could see Brett right now because he's very animated, and Brett doesn't really get animated, but you could tell when he gets a little flustered because his hands start flying around like a newborn baby.
I just don't want. Thanks. I just don't want like there to be any way in the future that people go back and go, well, 2020, it wasn't.
Asterisk.
It wasn't really. Yeah, like. They only raced in 2 continents out of the 3. There was only 17 instead of the over 20 that we're used to. Listen, we got freaking 17 races. It's incredible. Starting in what? June?
I think the 3 continents. Insane. I think the 3 continents thing is to add stress on the teams and the drivers. And I think with COVID, there was enough stress added on the teams.
I understand that, but even if you look at it, they made it to Asia, but they went to almost the closest parts of Asia that they could get to, Turkey. And the United Arab Emirates and Bahrain, like they didn't go to the Far East is what I'm saying. And I know it's logistic based. I get it. I just, for going forward, I wish we had that 3rd continent. I wish they just,
up.
Go to somewhere.
The weirdest shit gets you upset.
Go to somewhere in North Africa. They got racetracks, like pull a Formula E, just make a stupid racetrack somewhere. I'm just joking. They can't do that. They literally can't do that. But it would have been nice to see.
All right.
Africa needs a race, by the way. Just throwing that out there. Let's go back to Africa, please.
Dude, you're so hilarious. You get so animated.
So that's 2020.
That's 2020. We're going to do 2021 predictions right now. Now,
here's the fun part.
Brett and Jared and Brett, we both made our top 5. And in that top 5, we threw a bold prediction. Now
he made me.
Brett's is a little bolder than mine, in my opinion, but my bolder one is higher than Brett's, but we'll get into our top 5. And then we both put our minds together and we did the top constructors in order. We were kind of together up until the end, and then the end just kind of dove off a cliff. But
I made a bold prediction at the end of that.
All right, so the 2021 predictions, since you went first before, I'll go first this time. And my 2021 predictions for the top 5 in the standings go: number 1, Hamilton.
So this isn't opinion based. This has to go where they're going to finish in the standings at the end of 2021.
Yes, I think it's going to go Hamilton, Bottas, Perez. Pause for effect. Verstappen and Ricciardo. Hamilton, Bottas, Perez, Verstappen, Ricciardo.
You think Perez is going to top Verstappen in his first year at Red Bull?
That's my bold prediction. I think Perez is a hell of a driver. I think he adapts fairly quickly. I think that if Verstappen has some DNFs, if the car isn't where it needs to be, I think Perez can push him. And, we'll see what happens. And, I mean, that's my bold prediction. Yes, I think the other way I would have probably had it was Hamilton. The switch up here is, does Bottas come in second or does Verstappen come in second, really? In a realistic section, in a realistic selection, I would say Hamilton, Verstappen, Bottas, Ricciardo, Perez, or something like that. But in a bold statement, and predictions always need to be bold, I would go Hamilton, Bottas, Perez, Verstappen, Ricciardo. What are yours?
So mine are Hamilton gets his 8th championship, sets himself apart, top of all lists,
then leaves. I think Hamilton's gone before the 2022 regulations.
We'll see.
I think that 2022 pushback.
Hey! Oh, did I interrupt you?
I'm just saying that 2022 pushback helps Hamilton immensely.
Right. Oh, for sure. Yeah, absolutely. Okay. Anyway, Hamilton 1, Verstappen 2, Bottas 3, and no, that's not my bold prediction. Perez 4. That could be 2 because
you really think Perez is going to do that bad?
No, I think he's going to do that good.
You're yelling in the microphone, really. Jesus.
I think putting Perez...
You just said that might be a bold prediction. I don't think that's bold at all.
I'm saying Perez 4 is bold in a positive way. I think it's very likely that Perez is lower. And not because of Perez's ability, but because of how that car has been developed just for Verstappen. You're asking Perez to go in.
Perez is a journeyman. He's been around the world.
Hold on. You're asking Perez to go in and get used to a car that's designed for one person. Perez, second year in that car, absolutely. He's up there. He's in the top 4. He's fine for it. Maybe even, pushes Verstappen. I won't say beats Verstappen. He'll push Verstappen. I think putting Perez 4 in the standings goes more towards how strong the Red Bull is and Mercs are versus the rest of the field, as opposed to his ability. I think it comes down to that car. That car is made for Verstappen. Okay, it's made to be a bitch to handle because they know Verstappen can handle it, and Perez probably could handle it too, but not in year 1, not coming right in.
Who's your 5th? Yeah, pause for effect.
Drum roll.
Drum roll.
Aston Martin's new driver, Vettel.
No way.
Because, hear me out, all right? The Racing Point this year ended up getting turned on towards the end of the year because, they were the pink Mercedes in the beginning of the year, and they were slightly competitive, but they were pushing towards the top of the midfield, right? They still were not...
Binala.
They still were not constantly beating McLaren and Renault, right? Well, Renault really wasn't there in the beginning of the year, but anyway, I digress. Basically, I thought coming out with a pink Mercedes, the Racing Point would have been stronger for all of 2020, and they weren't. It still took some time to learn the ins and outs of that car design, and by the end of the year, they were the 3rd fastest car on the track. Okay. I think that this, with the regs changing, getting pushed to 2022, that just gives Racing Point one more year. Well, now Aston Martin, that 1 year to really understand the Mercedes style of doing things. Now, I don't put it down just to Vettel. I put it to, again, the car, right?
I think you're putting it more on the car, though.
I am. That's
Do you
what I'm
think
saying.
Vettel can
Just
bring that car?
I think Vettel can bring that car to where it can be better than Stroll.
Dude, he spins
That's
more
why
than a
I
dreidel.
put
Are you for real?
But he spins more than a he spins more than a top because the Ferrari had
face you gave me.
because the Ferrari had this is why we normally record it so you can see all right, anyway. Vettel spun the Ferrari as much as he did because the rear of that vehicle was so loose, and he likes a strong rear end. All right. So he's going into a green Mercedes now, not a pink Mercedes. He's going into a green Mercedes that is just a strong car. And I think Vettel's finally going to have, stop laughing, bro. I think Vettel's going to have the car of his dreams.
He's going to have a stronger.
No, I said he likes a strong rear end. I think Vettel's going to have that car that he finally has been dreaming of. Aston Martin's going to have that time, that Silverstone's team's going to have that time to understand that car even better. And if they're not third in the championship, unless Ferrari stuns the world with this engine that they claim is having mass improvements,
I think McLaren's going to stun you more.
Aston Martin should be third in the constructors.
All right, so I'll say it this way: I think McLaren is going to shock the world. I think McLaren is going to open up a lot of eyes with the changes that they've been doing over there. It's been really good. The only downside is McLaren did come out and say that they have wind tunnel. Their wind tunnel is too old. Their technology is too old, and they have to upgrade their technology with the new financial backers. That might happen sooner than later. So I think that'll be good, and I think that's why I put Ricciardo up there, because I really feel like McLaren is going to be there. The reason why I didn't put Vettel up there is because not only did the team make some errors, I think the team will have figured out the car a little bit better, but the car didn't progress as much as I thought it was going to progress throughout the year to make it there. And the fact that they did make some... Move that phone. They did make some mistakes strategically through the year, and I think that they'll try to figure that out a little bit better, but I think that's also causes a little bit of an issue. And I just, the way Vettel has been driving in the last few years, I would say two years, unless he's got a blistering fast car, I think that when he gets flustered, I don't think he does well. You look at Canada, with the Wall of Champions issue, when he battles side by side with Hamilton, when the Ferrari was competitive, he's usually the one that would lose out. Whereas you look at somebody like Leclerc battling Hamilton at Monza, when he had the car to do it, he wasn't flustered at all. I mean, he drove that whole race that he won with Hamilton pretty much in his back pocket. So I think that's why I don't see Vettel in the top 5. But we'll see. That's why it's a prediction. Top 5. Let's do constructors really fast. What did you put on that list there?
I just threw in the list of all the drivers because I wish that we could have gone through and ranked all 20. But just to run through in case you don't know, Mercedes is sticking with the same lineup, Hamilton and Bottas. Red Bull's keeping Verstappen and Gaines Perez. Smart move. I feel bad for Albon. McLaren has Ricciardo and Norris. Aston Martin is Vettel and Stroll. Alpine, which used to be Renault, has Fernando Alonso coming back and Esteban Ocon. Does Alonso do better than Ocon?
Yes.
It's going to be close, I think.
Just by experience, yes.
I think it's going to be close. If Ocon doesn't do well, writing's on the wall. I think.
Jesus. All right.
Ferrari has Leclerc and Sainz. AlphaTauri has Pierre Gasly and Yuki Tsunoda. I can't wait to see that man on track.
That's going to be a good team battle.
Oh, yeah.
I think that their skill levels are right there. I think
Tsunoda is an overtaking machine, and he's already said, I want to bring my aggression to Formula One.
That's what I'm talking about, little guy.
He's just
5'4".
He's just going to have to, I think, be patient. And that's where Albon failed. Albon wasn't patient.
Alfa Romeo
is keeping Raikkonen and Giovinazzi. Haas has Schumacher and Mazepin. Williams has the same lineup as Russell and Latifi. So just quick thoughts on that. Mazepin's going to finish last. Latifi's probably going to be second to last. Schumacher, I'm hoping, surprises a few people, but I don't know because the Haas has a dog of a car.
Let's get into the how you listen. That's part of your shock the world constructors predictions. All right, let's do it. Our constructor predictions were we were
We'll
on
give you
the
the
same.
ones where we agreed first.
We agreed Mercedes number 1, Red Bull number 2.
Yes.
This is where we got a little iffy. Brett says Aston Martin, then McLaren. Jared says McLaren, then Aston Martin. Then we had, and that's even, and that's Aston Martin even with Stroll on the lineup. Because if Perez was on the lineup, I'd agree with you. Aston Martin probably goes number 3, easy. But with Stroll in the lineup, McLaren, Aston Martin are going to go back and forth. Then we both had Alpine.
Yep.
Then we had Ferrari,
which asterisk depends on their engine.
Then we have AlphaTauri. And then this is where it just dove off a fucking cliff. And Brett went a little ridiculous.
I don't think so.
Brett feels it's going to go Williams, Alfa Romeo, and Haas last.
I think Williams is going to jump up from 10th to 8th.
I think they're going to get some points this year. That means Russell has to score points.
Well, it's not going to be Latifi.
All right, you're a little... Jesus Christ, guy. Savage.
Yeah, I think Williams has been heading in the right direction. I think Alfa Romeo has not been developing. Maybe they're looking for 2022. I don't know. But I know that they have not... I think that's why
they kept the same drivers.
I think they have not progressed as much as the Williams has. So I think Williams makes the jump up. And I think Haas continues their slide down. Gunther Steiner is already warning people that it's going to be a dog of a year. So that's how I get that order. Williams is on the up. Alfa Romeo is kind of stagnant, and Haas is still sliding back.
If Haas comes in last place this year, do they back out of Formula One?
No. Well,
ooh,
that might have to do with the Mazepin money. I think that if they don't do well in 2022, maybe.
All right. Well, that's the thing is 2022, you got they're putting money into it already. Do you continue to dump money into something like 2022 if you already know that, you're trash in 2021? Maybe. Take the gamble. It depends. I don't know how deep the pockets are over there.
Last bold prediction that I will make, and it goes to what I was just saying before. If Ocon does not perform against Alonso, I think Gasly takes his seat.
Oh my gosh. That's that. All right. Gasly makes the jump like Ricardo.
And Sainz before him.
You might have a point.
Sainz went from Toro Rosso to Renault.
All right. I like it.
Yep.
All right. Well, that's the end of this show. Brett slapping us with a little crazy one at the end. We thank you for joining us. We really appreciate you guys tagging along. Please like, subscribe, follow us on all social media, comment, let your friends know, let your moms know, let your dads know where to find us. And we will see you guys soon. Peace.